Hi, my name is Leah Day, and welcome to this video for the Free Motion Quilting Project. Today we're learning another new design, this time a feather design, and I'm wanting to stitch it up a notch by adding a little spiral inside of it. I'm calling it wired feather because it kind of reminds me of taking a wire and bending it. A lot of times in jewelry you'll see it. Bending the wire around so it stays in that firm shape, and I like that idea of having the feathers kind of strung up on a wire. So that's where the inspiration is coming from this design. So let's get on the machine and stitch it out in free motion. So I've already prepared my quilt sandwich, and I've also stitched the vine line. That's basically just two parallel lines running down the length of your piece. I run mine diagonally through my square, but you can run it however you want. So if you're working through the border of a quilt, sashing, you can always run this line just straight through the space. Okay, so now to build up our feathers, we're just going to start with a small teardrop. Now bring it out and around. And now to wire our feathers, we're going to work our way back in there and stitch a little spiral and travel stitch back out. I like the travel stitching for this because it's going to make it a little darker, a little extra thread in that line. I'm going to swing out and around for another feather. Just travel stitch back and swing in. And basically you're kind of making the exact same shape again. You're coming in, you're swinging around, forming that spiral, and then travel stitching back out again. So I like this design in the sense that it's going to give you a lot of practice on stitching that feather shape. It's going to really give you a lot of bang for your buck when it comes to making and forming that angle, because you form it once for the feather itself, and then you form it again to stitch the spiral. So that's really, really nice. And this time I'm making that spiral a lot more intense. I'm really getting in there. You can keep it as open or as complex as you want. You know, you could get in there and really do a lot of little spirals in there. That would be fine. I might actually even go in a second time right here. I have the space, so why not? And stitch in with a second little spiral. That looks beautiful. And come out. I like travel back feathers. I'm traveling along the back of the feather. I'm getting to the point where it really starts to curve, and that's when I curve out the opposite direction with my next feather. Now if you don't like the look of having two spirals together, just try and aim to put your wire line, your spiral line, right through the center, and I think that's going to fill up the space just a little bit better. Let's try that. That looks better, but we still have these feathers start getting really big and we start having a lot of space in there. It's perfectly fine if that's what you're going for, but if you want to fill up that space completely, I want to give you an idea. You can also branch off from that line and do some little spirals off of it as well. So you can bring in, a new, have basically two spiral lines coming in, or you can just branch off multiple spirals off the same line. Those are two different options right there for you. There is a lot of travel stitching involved with this design, both for the feathers themselves and for the spirals. My best advice for that is just slow down and keep it under control. Take your time. This isn't a race. And don't obsess about it. If you do stitch off the line, it's no big deal. I doubt anyone's going to look at your quilt and go, oh, well, she meant to stitch on the line and she stitched off the line, so therefore that's a mistake. Most people don't know really what you were intending, so they can't read your mind. So as long as you don't tell them that you made a mistake, no one will know. And that's kind of the nice thing about it. Make it look intentional. If you start, stitching off your lines, just keep stitching off your lines, keep it consistent, and no one will be the wiser. So I'm making this feather really narrow. I'm going to have to really be careful as I wiggle in there, stitch right through the middle, and get into this area. After you reach kind of the widest part of your feather, like I'm kind of in that corner, so now I'm going to start needing to shrink everything down. And at that point, you kind of have to just keep an eye on your space. Like basically what I'm looking at, I'm kind of back here, I am looking at where I'm aiming in relation to this edge. So I don't want to come down traveling against this first feather right here. I don't want to come down too far or I won't have enough room to make my nice smooth curve. So what I'm doing when I look at a feather like this, I'm kind of visualizing a curve. And so I don't want to come down here, you know, it's too far down to start that curve or I won't have enough room. I'm visualizing a nice, you know, maybe a 1/2 inch curve right here. And that's when, that'll really kind of help you gauge where you need to branch off away from your travel stitching to come out and around with your feather. There's no right or wrong way of doing it. Keep that in mind. That's, if you want smaller feathers too, you're going to need to stitch further down along the back of the one previously. So understand there's no right or wrong way to do this, but the angling of the feather itself can be a little tricky, and that's why I always like building one feather off of the next. Like right here, I'm traveling against the back of one feather, and now I'm looking at how far down do I stitch before I kind of bell out, I swing out with the next one. So let me show you what would happen if I stitch down too far. If I stitch down too far, then I get down here and I can't make a really nice big turn. I can make a small turn like that. I can still put a wire in that. So understand, even if you come down far and you don't know what to do, just go on ahead and try and keep the same set of steps in mind. Try and continue to form that feather. You know, still fill it with your wire, with your little spiral, and it's going to look just fine. And having the ability to shrink and expand your feathers is a really good ability to have. One of the best designs to learn that is a design called swirling feathers, because you basically are forced to learn how to stick feathers just any old which way and swirl them around your quilting space all over the place. And it's really how I learned how to quilt feathers. I wasn't very good at it until I took that design and quilted it over an entire quilt. Sometimes that's what it takes. Now you'll notice in this video I stitched out half of the design with the piece kind of facing away from me, stretching the feathers up and out. I rotated the whole piece halfway through the video and started stitching the opposite direction, forming the feathers coming towards me. Understand, either way could work for you. And it's really important to rotate your piece, especially if you're feeling like you're not getting the shape that you want. Feathers are one of those things that you want a soft curve, but getting it and everything connecting together and not just ending up looking like kind of leaves sticking off of a vine, that's the tricky part. So be patient with it, keep practicing, and don't be afraid to rotate your piece around if you need to get a better idea, a better look at what you're doing. So my name is Leah Day, and this has been a video for the Free Motion Quilting Project. Find hundreds of videos stitching out many beautiful free motion quilting designs at freemotionproject.com. Also, while you're online, check out leahday.com, where we have an online quilt shop dedicated to carrying all of the tools and supplies for free motion quilting on your home sewing machine. The quilt shop supports the Free Motion Quilt Project, so this is what allows us to post free videos for you to enjoy. So my name is Leah Day, and until next time, let's go quilt.